Welcome to Numb Bills Fan Podcast, episode number 205. I'm your host, David Palermo, and on the podcast today we have a doctor. Yes, a real doctor, former NFL doctor for the San Diego Chargers for 17 years. Like the head one, top one, I know. How's he on the podcast? I'm talking fast. Clearly a big deal to me. Anyways, follow along on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Hope you enjoy it. Dr. David Chao from Pro Football Doc Podcast joins us, so hope you enjoy it. And as always, check out numbbillsfan.com for the latest. And welcome to Numb Bills Fan Podcast, episode number 205. On the line, I have Dr. David Chao from San Diego, I take it?
Yes.
Okay, so you want to give us a little background about yourself? I hit you up on Twitter randomly and really stoked that you got back to me. You seem like a really pretty chill person. The way you communicate to the audience, it's very understanding. Like I got what you were putting down. You know what I'm saying?
Well, thank you. I try not to use big words and do an anatomy lesson, but I got a question for you. Numb's Bill fan. Is it that cold there right now?
Honestly,
or are you numb for other reasons?
I just walked out to the car to get my Claritin, and over here I really should move because I love LA. I love the weather. I don't get sick. Okay, ever when I leave here. But here, I was just saying, like, why do I live here? And at 34, I had your injury spotter on Kyle from here yesterday real quick, and I was asking about a hockey injury because, man, when it's colder and I do construction for a living too, it's like it hurts, you know, and it just takes a minute and I'm not adapting to it. And I know you're like, oh, 34, good joke. It's like, no, this sucks. Like, so yeah, it's cold.
Well, I've been numb when I've been in Buffalo before. It's been cold enough out there, but I do think that the Bills is and the Bills Stadium is a very little known secret. Everyone raves about the Packers. It's right in the middle of the houses and the whole deal. But that's the same thing for the Bills, right? And all your tailgaters and RVs and so forth. It's sort of the hidden stadium that people don't realize that I actually really like the atmosphere there.
You know what's funny is I said this on the podcast a bunch, but I'll tell you, is I used to be, you know, I'm a subcontractor, so when I'm single, the money's decent. I don't have any kids that I know of, so it's like, you know, I have some spare money, so I would be a snob and I always buy the tickets in the lower bowl. I'm not sitting in those broke seats up top, you know. I was an idiot, right? So I was like 25. I randomly got seats into 300 for a Jaguars game, and I had the best view ever. And this is more of like a podcast of like deep thought. I'm not like, oh, let's go to a party and get hammered. I'm more of the guy holding the camera, encouraging him to like go do something stupid. And like, I'm more of that and the philosophical Dungeons and Dragons. All right, how are we going to beat this team? Is this injury for real? Are you sure? So it's like, for me, it's like, it's just like a whole mind-numbing experience. But the sightlines, the Rolf Wilson Stadium, my seats now, season ticket holder, 7 years victim, actually maybe 8-year victim now. And I'll tell you, row 6, 331. I'm as close to the railing as I could get, and I can see all the formations, all the plays. I have a great view to the tent, you know, for the medical purposes. And like you said,
until they put it up.
Yeah, right. and it's like, you know, not for nothing, they have some of the best. Actually, I should take this back. You've been to every stadium, probably, or most of them. So yeah, how would the sightlines rate compared to other spots, really?
Well, from I've never had a seat in any of these stadiums that I've been to, so it's not exactly the same. So for me, the bigger deal is the crown of the field. Sometimes in certain fields are very big. Ralph Wilson Stadium is deceptively small or big, depending on where you look at it, because the field is below ground level. So From the outside, you don't think it's that big of a stadium, but from the inside, certainly it is. And, you know, my sight lines are always the same, trying to peer over 6'5" guys and different spots and so forth.
And
on your other topic, you said you're single and don't have any kids. You want some of mine?
No, I'm married.
You probably hear this in the background. I'm chasing around an 18-month-old that wants me to go on a slide with her, and the 5-year-old boy-girl twins are at soccer practice.
Well,
where mom is the coach.
I want instant family, and I just married a beautiful woman with a child. So,
oh, cool.
And she has a daughter that is amazing. We go out, and we try to take her to like a rock show because the wife and I, we both play music, not in the same band or anything, but we both play a lot of music. That's like our thing, and it's like. We brought her. She's like, "Can we go home and read?" Or like, you know what? This band is kind of boring. Like, let's go. So it's like I feel like I hit the lottery as far as being a stepdad goes. It's like it can't get easier, And it's ironic because I married somebody where her and her daughter are the only ones that are not Bills fans, really, in their entire family. She wants to learn about the game, so I have her like trying to get her into the Madden training program, and it's hilarious because her whole friends and family, her cousin listens, has a big company that really does like cutting edge stuff, and like they're all diehard Bills fans. I got like extremely lucky. And just a little note, it's called Numb Bills Fan Podcast. You mentioned Numb because this whole Josh Allen thing, you can't predict this, but I've been predicting this since March that like he's set up for disaster. So like right now it's like this is like the worst thing I could see. And I mean, what else can you be but quote unquote numb to it, really? As tacky as that is. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not shocked.
Well, what can I say? You got to think more positively, and maybe things will happen more. I mean, there's some good parts of Buffalo. I like the Anchor Bar. Been there, obviously, done that. You can't miss that, right? When you go.
I've never been there, and I'm from Rochester, so like I missed out. But I've never gone. But I've always gone to Duff's. But I always hear that Anchor Bar is probably the one to go to over Duff's.
Yeah, you got to make the original. But back on the kid topic, if you like Instant Family, if you want to borrow one of mine, we'll send them on a one-way plane ticket if your daughter needs a playmate. We can make that happen.
She goes wild. She's always, if there's kids around, always ready to play. Always, like we brought her to a clam bake for my family, and it's just like instant friends. And my dad, they would just like run me outside and try to tire me out, but it don't work.
Yeah. Well, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? And your fans might want to know, and that they might be interested, that I started a podcast. I'm not on episode 2000 or whatever you're on. I'm on episode 11 next week, and the guest that's already lined up next week is a Bills Hall of Famer, James Lofton.
Come on, really?
So, yeah.
Wow, that's really cool, James Lofton. That's like a really cool story how he ended up coming to Buffalo later in his career. And it's just like, he is a turnkey veteran player. I mean, you've been around the league, and it's like, these guys, I feel like my whole thing is I honestly think, David, that these coaches are not as smart as they think they are. So, it's like pretty ego driven. Maybe you think my head's up my ass, but it's like a very ego driven. This is my way or the highway. And it's like, well, dude, you got 2 films of tape or 2 years of tape on this guy running behind this offensive line. I think maybe your goal here is to maintain that and not do the other thing and actually watch the tape is what it seems. So it's kind of like, with Lofton, he comes in, he does his job. You know what you're going to get. He's a vet, and he just does his Hall of Fame thing,
No, Lofton is awesome. What I know Bills fans claim James Lofton. Let me tell you, when we were getting on the team bus or the team hotel, there'd be, the fans out there and asking for autographs. And let me tell you, James Lofton had more requests often than LT or Phillip Rivers.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of 81s, a lot of Bills helmets and so forth. Now, I don't want to give away the punchline, but it's not the only city that happens for him now. Every place he's been, he's beloved.
Yeah, he's again, you just know what you're gonna get, and when you just show up and produce and do your job, anybody who likes sports likes you.
Yeah, and then and by the way, his partner in crime lives out here in San Diego, Andre Reed, another Hall of Famer. Yes.
I've never had him on. I've sent him I got hammered one night. And you know how Andre Reed was doing like the pork rinds? Andrew was sponsoring pork rinds, and I think all of his buddies were kind of like making fun of him a little bit. And and like I won't, because I won't disrespect that man. He is one of the toughest individuals you'll ever probably meet in your life, if you think about it. Going over to middle in the '90s, good joke. You know what I mean? So
and if Andre's listening, I hope it doesn't offend him. He's not the biggest guy in the world.
I don't think he's listening. I think he is a life doctor. With all due respect. Like, yeah. He's and he's not, but he's tough as nails. But I hit him up on Instagram like a video, like, hey man, please sponsor the podcast with your pork rinds. 'Cause I grew up in the city and the suburbs, so you know the little bodegas. I'm used to getting my Jamaican beef patties and you know pork rinds. So I really thoroughly love pork rinds. So if you can tell him like on my behalf, like dead serious, dude, I love you and I love pork rinds, and I'm not even trolling. It's not even a joke. Like, I don't know. I don't want him to get mad. I don't want like that.
I know Andre pretty well, and Sherry, but I'll tell you, I did not know that about pork rinds about him, but I will bring it up because pork rinds is one of the things that I'm trying to do because my wife has me on, hey, you got to lose this baby weight diet and go in keto, and pork rinds are legal and they fool you and they seem like they're chips.
Can we go down a rabbit hole real quick?
Yeah, sure.
So check this out.
Are we already there?
Yeah, this is great. This is why we do this. I don't care about Josh Allen's injury. He needs to sit out anyways, okay? So, best thing to happen to him. He even said it. So, you know, I used to wrestle in high school, and, you know, I followed the whatever. Oh, you got to eat 3 times a day, eat a bagel, eat this and that, eating this and that. And, you know, I listened to the Joe Rogan Experience podcast, and if you have never checked it out, it's a great way where you can have a guest on for as long as you want, and they just can't run from the conversation, so it's pretty genuine. And what I like about the man is he owns it if he's wrong. You know, like, oh, I guess that was wrong. That was a joke. You know, and it's like, one thing I notice is they're always talking health. And one thing that's weird is I dropped a lot of weight all of a sudden, and I picked up men's hockey a few years ago. So I'm doing sprints 2 nights a week, essentially. I'm like the center that is just like a ball of destruction. And I'm a grinder. I'm not really aiming too well. My head's down half the time. I'm new to hockey. But point is this weight just started coming off. But one thing I stopped doing was I did the Whole30 diet a few times. I don't know if you ever heard of that. Have you tried that before?
Sure. My wife's tried to do it and tried to force me to do it.
How long did you last your first time?
30 hours.
Okay. Can I give you a secret? Can I give you a secret? So,
yeah.
First of all, you're a doctor, but I'm going to give you advice. Okay.
All right.
So look, it's a progression. You know, if you have the decision between eating that awesome triple cheeseburger, switch it to chicken. I know it sounds stupid. Just switch it to chicken. Start getting used to not eating the buns. Avoid your breads. Avoid your grains. Avoid your rice for a little bit. But if you do the Whole30 and you get through the first 2 weeks, don't look at the scale. You will just start feeling better, and you'll start noticing how your body reacts to food. Does that make sense? And my weight.
I hear you. But since we're already well down the rabbit hole, gopher hole, or whatever we're down, you said you realize that I'm waiting for the all carb diet. You said don't eat the rice and all that other stuff. You do realize that I'm Asian, right? And I'm Chinese, so that's
my wife is from Thailand, so I mean, she's cooking right now rice.
One of the 5 basic food groups is rice. You know?
No, I know. I eat rice now. I'm telling you. And my best friend growing up was Filipino. They would give me the ramen noodles. I thought I hit the lottery as a kid. Swear to God, I'll go over there and be like, give him the ramen. We're not giving him the really stinky fish that's really expensive smell crap over here. We're going to give him the ramen. But no, my wife is, she's from Thailand. So,
cool.
Yeah, so I eat all sorts of cool food. But yeah, you can't really cut out rice, so you're kind of screwed with the Whole30, I guess. But I don't know. It's just weird. I just noticed, like as a doctor, do you find nutrition like what's up with it? Like, why is I feel like it's honestly corporations making more money and dumbing down the food supply. Personally, if you want to go down that, but it's like so many chemicals. We don't know how they react. We don't have years of testing, and I find going to the market how I feel afterwards, or not eating bread as much, or it just feels better. It feels cleaner. I don't feel as peaks and valleys in energy. Does that make sense?
Sure. No, it totally does. That's the one thing the keto diet's done for me. I don't have that medical term, postprandial after lunch nap time sleepiness, and so that's the one thing that it's been good about it. But I don't want to overstate my position now. You understand, I'm a bonehead, right? I'm an orthopedist. So in terms of a real doctor, that's not really me. Ligaments, tendons, bones, muscles, joints, that's me. The really technical life-saving stuff, I mean, is not me. So just
I'll ask you a question after this comment about myself. This is the guy that listens to sports radio when Dick Duran gets fired, hoping that he heard, like I heard whim of what's his name there from the Steelers? Bill Cowher was in the building,
yes,
like a decade ago. All right, and then they hired Chan Gailey, and I heard from a source that he was around. So I would stream from my BlackBerry like any national sports radio I could find. I had no clue about WGR. Again, I'm in Rochester, and I caught some on the way home. Eventually was like, there needs to be a Bills podcast. Only Sal Capaccio had one out of Buffalo. And long story short, John Murphy started one about a year after I thought of kind of doing it. But I'm like, I can't just talk some crap out of my mic. I don't know what I'm talking about. But it's like I find myself in these internet arguments on comments, and I'm like, my time is more valuable. So I'll just talk my thought just organically, no commercials, unless it feels right, to fit them in when it, But it's like with your podcast, I think you're going to knock it out of the park, because we're really just, as people in general, we're looking for that genuine conversation. I can't just hear like Skip Bayless and an unintelligent level one like clickbait all day long. So I appreciate that you're going through with this. And after like podcast 35, they say statistically, you'll be fine. You got to get to 35.
Well, the easy part for me actually is the content, because there's just always so many injuries during the season. I do it on Monday, kind of a recap. And by the way, if your listeners listen, I was actually not right on Josh Allen to begin with. By the video I saw, I didn't think it was that bad. Okay. Then it was sideline video and what have you, but I can't watch everything. I mean, heck, NFL Game Mix only has 8 games. There were 9 games going on at the same time. And for the 10 a.m. game at my time. And if I'm out of breath, as I'm literally chasing after the 18-month-old as she crawls on different things, et cetera, at the jungle gym at the playground here.
You must be pretty healthy, 18-month-year-old. No,
18 months.
That keto's working out.
And she's beating me where she is, and I don't need mom mad at me for she gets hurt here. But in any case, when I looked at Josh Allen's initial video, I said, well, he certainly got the contusion. It's not the classic for anything that's bad. I hope it's just sore. But I made the mistake of not seeing video of the play afterwards that he stayed in and then came out of. And I never saw the sideline exam video until Monday. Someone tweeted at me. I forget who it was that sent it, and I don't. It was one of the local TV stations in Buffalo, and I went.
Thad Brown at I think WKBW.
You go. Good credit there. Yeah, I do believe that's who it was.
It might be WRLC Rochester. I think it's Thad Brown, but Thad Brown definitely.
Yeah, Thad Brown sounds very familiar here. In any case, that's when I went, oh, they're doing a valgus stress test and a milking sign. He's got an ulnar collateral. That's where I sort of came upon and said, this is an ulnar collateral ligament. So I did not put that in my Monday morning podcast because I hadn't seen that video yet.
Right.
And I make no bones about I'm on my couch trying to give impressions about injuries. And thankfully I've been, 95% correct over time, but it's just never 100%. I mean, it's never 100% because of things like this. And if all I did was watch Bills, I might've caught that, but I'm jumping around. And so, but I freely admit, so if any of your listeners go listen to the podcast, you'll hear, I sort of miss on him. I said, he'll be a couple weeks. He'll be okay. But once I saw that, last night, and I wrote the article before Chris Mortensen broke some of the news and of the ulnar collateral. And at that point, I said, look, I'm not trying to be negative, but goodbye, October. You're going to be lucky if Josh Allen comes back in November. And it might be towards the end of November. And that's why on the Periscope halftime thing that I do, people asked me a very good question. They said, what's the over-under on Josh Allen returning? I said 6 weeks. So it's no surprise to me that he's been ruled out this week. The only good news is he never flew for the second opinion to Alabama for the MRI. It was just an MRI opinion, which meant that it wasn't, quote, that bad, because if he really needed ulnar collateral ligament surgery, he's going to miss 2019, and that does not look like the case right now.
So, you know what I like about you, David, is like you really just, it's like what's cool about this world, how we can talk freely, is we don't like. I like that you own it. You're like, yeah, I screwed up. It is what it is. We try to do the best we can with the resources available, and like even me, it's like some people ask me questions. I'm like, I didn't know that dude was on the team. And then I don't feel so bad because I'll hear like some guys on the radio, won't mention names. Definitely not John Murphy. Definitely not him. No joke. But like some guys, maybe former players on CBS, that I'm like, dude, Steve, that guy's not on the roster anymore. Like it's like so. As a guy who's been around football now, do you think with the Bills, just your opinion here, because do you think what they did, grabbing Josh Allen and starting him this soon when he needs all that much development, not saying that you watch X's and O's or whatever, but just a general opinion, you've been around the Chargers for how many years? Like,
look,
18, 17, 19?
17, but here's the thing. Like, I'm not a football coach or whatever, but I certainly recognize patterns. And, for every person that had first year success, there are several more that had later success. So let's just play a game. Let's name a young quarterback in recent memory and see where they really are. So the hottest quarterback in the league right now is Pat Mahomes.
Right.
Second year. Name the next hottest quarterback in the NFL right now.
Technically not even. And you want to know something? Now, I see where you're going with this. Now check this out. Ready?
Yeah.
It would drive me bonkers. And this was like before I think the podcast started. It would drive me bonkers when people are like, oh, you got to get a franchise QB like RG3. It's like, dude, the guy had 1 year at the time. Shut up. And then the same thing with Dak Prescott. And it's like, once the defenses catch up, they will figure it out. They will figure out what makes you tick. It's just a matter of time, and your ability to adapt and study film and see the wrinkles from game to game to game. I mean, you work with Phillip Rivers. Can I tell you something? I have never seen a quarterback better in my life, hands down, throwing the ball to Phillip Rivers. He looks so weird. And a ball went in all the right spots. I'm like, how the hell is he throwing this? Like right to left, stepping all weird.
It's like a weird golf swing, but the ball's going straight. Why are you going to change it?
He almost looks like you ever play tennis?
Yeah.
Okay. It looks like sometimes when he's throwing the ball, it almost looked like he was like kind of like trying to put like top spin on the ball, like when he's throwing it. Like it was like the weirdest shit I've ever seen.
But since you bring up Phillip Rivers, I mean, Drew Brees just set that record, and people commented a lot on that. And I was there when he dislocated his shoulder. I'm the one who put it back in, etc.
Really?
Well, if you look at that ESPN special, I'm walking him off the field. I'm the first one to greet him, and on my Twitter timeline is a picture. But here's my point. The point wasn't about me. The point was about what happened. So what happened was, like, everyone's like, oh, the Chargers messed up. You should have kept Drew Brees. No, Drew is great. I love Drew. I love Brittany, his wife, the whole deal. But, like, his first year, we drafted him in the first pick of the second round.
Right.
And LT, we actually had the pick for Michael Vick, and we traded down. We traded down to get to the fifth spot. We ended up with Shawne Merman, and so this was a good trade for us. But Shawne Merman was the Eli Manning trip, but it was a good trade for us. In any case, LaDainian Thompson was the fifth pick. The first pick in the second round, so because we still had the first pick in the draft in terms of draft order, was Drew Brees. And Drew, the first year, did not beat out Doug Flutie. Doug Flutie was our quarterback. Mm-hmm. The second year, he beat out Doug Flutie, and we were like an 8-8 squad. Okay. The third year that Drew played with us, we were 4-12.
Wow.
Okay. That's how we got the first pick in the draft.
Right.
We were 4-12, and off of that, it was the Eli Manning, Phillip Rivers, whatever, and that was I was lucky enough to be in the draft in the war room when that happened and the trade went down and the whole deal. But we got that first pick because we were 4-12. So when Phillip came to the team, he actually held out and didn't sign until the third week in August, which allowed Drew the chance to start again. And we started 1-2, and everyone was calling for Drew's head. Then we went on a winning streak and finished 12-4, won the division. That's what kept Phillip on the bench the first year. And the second year, after a 12-4 year, we had to play Drew. And after the 15th game, we already missed the playoffs. And Drew's 5 years were up. And Phillip, our first pick in the draft, the guy we really went up and got, has sat for 2 years. So it's not an anti-Drew versus Phillip decision. It's, and especially with the injury, it's just the way that it broke.
Progression. They make it sound like, because, dude, I have some dark years with football where, I got involved with music. I bought into the marketing. You got to work your ass off. Being self-employed, I grind. You know what I mean? You do it too. And it's like a world of grind. And it's like I look to sports for relief, and then they keep making dumb decisions. But my timeline for this, I thought it was way tighter. Like, what year did Drew Brees hurt his shoulder? Was it what year of his career in San Diego?
It was the 5th year. It was at the end of the 5th year of his career.
So 15th game?
It was the final game of the season after we were already eliminated.
Right. Yeah, that makes perfect sense, though.
It was the 5th year, and obviously clubs control a first-round draft pick for 5 years.
So now, can I ask you something? I don't know how much you're allowed to talk about it, but was it really extremely, extremely weird? I'm so fascinated with the Eli Manning, Phillip Rivers situation, though, with that whole thing, and I thought it was an awesome power move. I'm sure you got friends in the organization, so you can't really say probably much, but just I thought that was really an oddball move for Eli Manning to control his destination. That said, it might be also a move that maybe players have more rights than us fans think, or what is the years later, 20 years later, just about, what do you think?
20 years later, Eli used to be hated here, but with the Chargers leaving town, Eli is no longer public enemy number one. I can tell you that. The ownership is more public enemy number one than Eli is. So things change with perspective and time. I wasn't involved in any negotiations. I was in the war room. I can tell you, we drafted Eli first, and there was not a deal done. The deal wasn't done until the Giants, I think they drafted 4th, picked Rivers. When they picked Rivers, the war room and the people who really knew what was going on, I sat at the kids' table, okay? There's about 10 people at the main table. Yeah. The GM, the assistant GM, the head coach, ownership, a manager person, all this. I sat with the head athletic trainer at the kids' table in the corner. But, the coordinators weren't in the room. The scouts weren't in the room. It was just this power group, and we were just there for medical advice in case in the kids' table. So I wasn't privy to any of the discussions going forward there, et cetera. But I could visibly tell, it was obvious that the second the Giants drafted Rivers, they knew they had the trade they wanted, because for some reason they knew that they wanted Eli and they didn't really want Rivers. So once they picked Rivers, the room knew that the deal would get done. And so the deal wasn't officially consummated. Now, I get that there were probably floated scenarios and all this complicated stuff, but it wasn't consummated until after the Giants chose Phillip. That's all I know. I don't know the rest of the details and how it went back and forth.
It's still so weird, right? It's just okay, we got this guy, but we're not really sure.
Well, the Giants weren't dumb. They knew that we wanted Phillip. Remember, our record was the worst record in the league, so our coaches had the right to coach in the Senior Bowl, and they were coaching Phillip, and that's how they got to know him and were super impressed with him. And so it was very clear to the Giants that we wanted Phillip. So
I just don't get why they wouldn't take him. It still kind of doesn't really.
The Giants wouldn't take him, or the Chargers wouldn't take him?
Chargers.
Well, because they wanted value. They knew Eli was the most valuable piece of property, so they wanted something.
So now, did they get something else with the swap too?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I
never even.
They got something else. They got other stuff too. I forget what they got. I don't remember. But the other thing that I would say too is, you got to remember who drafted second that year. It was the dreaded rival Oakland Raiders.
Right.
They ended up picking Robert Gallery, but one of the conversations, one of the thoughts had to be, okay, we pick Phillip and we get who we want. Okay, we don't play this game with chicken. We don't get the extra draft picks. Okay, but we still get the guy we want. What's wrong with that? Well, we're essentially giving the rival Raiders Eli Manning. Right?
That's so smooth.
And look, this is not AJ Smith was the GM then. I think he's a smart guy. I'm in great terms with him. I don't think I'm telling anything that hasn't been revealed. If anything, it's all complimentary to him. The guy had it figured out. I'm not saying he hoodwinked the Giants, but yeah, I'm just saying that.
Oh, that's not the version, dude. That's not the version we hear from New York around here. I'll tell you what, it's, can you believe that Archie Manning is such a prick that his son is not playing for that disorganized piece of shit franchise? That's all I gathered. So it's like, really, like, you don't understand, like this is huge to have you on, because I have the desire to have so many people on. It's just like, you seem like somebody I could communicate with. You seem cool, and I appreciate it. And it's like this is such great insight. This is one of the best podcasts I've seriously ever had. This is episode 205, to tell you how much I've been losing on this thing here. You know, so it's like, that's incredible. Like, I got to ask you one more question.
Yes.
Shawne Merman. I was so fat. Now, Shawne, what I like about him is during the whole little Bills Mafia cute days, when Buddy Nix, I loved Buddy Nix. I'm like, Buddy's
Nix. Awesome.
Dude, Buddy Nix, I swear to God, if you could get me an interview with Buddy Nix, I'll donate like $50 to any charity of your choice. I love Buddy Nix, and I swear to you, he taught me so much through the media about football, because I'm like, okay, how's a suit made? And this dude set up a scouting infrastructure here with Doug Whaley, yada, yada, yada. And when they brought on McDermott, I'm like, don't fire Whaley, please. Don't fire Whaley. Because I thought they actually built something awesome as far as the scouting staff. But then, you know how it goes here, dude. Like, there's no way Drew Brees would have lasted here at 2-14. Trust me. They would have crushed him out of town. You know what I mean?
I hear you. I appreciate being on with you too. I'll leave you with this as we run here. My team, historically, the San Diego Chargers, and the Buffalo Bills have a lot in common. Besides Buddy Nix, I mean, A.J. Smith came from there. He was the right-hand man for John Butler, who came here from there. And obviously, one of my good friends, even to this day, Doug Flutie, obviously has a big Buffalo heritage there. And also Shawne Merman came from us to you. And I love Shawne. He's going to be a podcast guest coming up here at some point too.
He's so cool. Him and Doug Flutie back in the day, they actually got back to me. I tweeted Doug Flutie. I go, Doug, I thought you had a lot more left for the Bills in the tank. And he goes, I thought I did too. Quoting me, Shawne Merman used to get back to me because he used to like make fun of people who had like really crappy houses in the hood with like really nice vehicles, and I would, you know, I do construction, so I'd be on these remodel jobs. I'd send them pictures. So like, I actually hit him up to come on. I would love to just like, seriously, if you know anybody that's just looking to get some run, by all means, please. Like, if they need to stay clean, I could stay clean. I could fake it. I do it all day for 8 hours. So, but David, thank you so much. Anything else you got for Bills fans on Josh Allen that we should look at here?
No, I mean, you know, I think they're going to take it slow. I mean, I think the over-under of 6 weeks is fair. And thankfully, he's not going to need surgery. And that's at least that's what it looks like now. And hopefully it stays that way, barring re-injury. So you're going to have him. But, you know, there shouldn't be is he going to play next week? Is he going to play a next week thing? I mean, I think, you know, if he got back in the middle of November, that would be good, you know. So don't rush the guy and give him his time to get right.
I really appreciate it, David. Thank you so much. And where can we find you on Twitter and your website and your podcast?
Twitter is Pro Football Doc, and the website is profootballdoc.com. And because I lack creativity, the podcast is Pro Football Doc Podcast.
That's actually perfect. So everybody check that out. And that's been David Chao, the awesome doctor here from the Chargers. What, 17 years, you said? That's pretty nuts here. So, Thank you, David.
All right. Thanks.
See ya.